Very nice. Okay. I'm excited. I feel like today's one's going to be pretty easy for you guys. You guys are giving a lot of good answers. Okay. So we're going to talk about engagement. So again, we went singleness, dating, engagement, and next week we'll do. Okay. When do I know? Maybe are standing on the edge of a relationship that had lasted several months or even years. You are at an age where you could get married. You have the finance to afford it. You love each other. You can imagine a future together. But how do you know when you are ready to cross the threshold that you have found the right one? What are the evidences that prove that a couple is ready for engagement? I will offer four realities that can give you the confidence to know that you are with the right one. To remember easily, they all start with the same letter: commitment, communication, confession, and community. And you guys already have mentioned actually some of these. Okay, so let's go for it. And then also, I want to see what you guys think. And then maybe there's another C that you want to put in later. Okay, first one, commitment.
A strong sense of commitment. You must discover within yourself and the other person a strong sense of mutual commitment to the relationship. You need to observe in you both a resolve to stay with each other even when it's hard. It says that the Song of Solomon, for love is strong as death. How is love like death? When death takes hold of something, it never lets go. Love is like that. How do you know real love? It grabs a hold and says, I'm staying for better or for worse. There's a deep sense of commitment, a resolve to stay when it requires the discomfort of working through problems.
Yeah. So you want to be able to make sure that both of you guys have gone through some hard stuff together. Because if you don't, then what you don't know whether they're prepared to commit or not. Because they could say, we talked about it before. People can say all day long, I will love you, I will love you in death or life or sickness or what, all that stuff. But unless you actually gone through it together, even when you're dating, right? How do you know? What if something hard happened and they're like, peace out, right? So again, these are all just words then. Let's go.
How do you know the commitment is there for you? It overcomes hardships. No waters can quench it. So wait and see. Date long enough to experience some arguments about fundamental issues. Wait for that situation where you begin to see a little character flaw or an annoying habit in the other that you realize will never go away. Then watch yourself. Does it make you want to quit or long for someone else?
Right. So it's like, let's say again, when things are good, things are good. Like you're gonna be want to be with that person. Why? Because things are good. You have that chemistry. You feel good, and they're cute. Everything is good. But what if that starts fading away? Like, are you still willing to stay with this person? Right? If not, then that's fine. But that means you're not ready for that engagement period because it's only gonna get harder and harder to stay together when things get hard, right? So even if you can't stay together, even when small hard thing happen, then what makes you think that in marriage, again, the whole goal of marriage is I'm gonna be with you forever, right? Next.
When you get married, you will sign a document that declares to God and the world, I am binding myself to this person for the rest of my life. Make sure that piece of paper is a reflection of what you feel inside. True love is stronger than death, more powerful than the grave. Wait long enough to make sure that conviction is present.
What do you guys think about this one? Commitment. So it's basically saying, I think that's why I think this author would say, um, although some situations do work. Actually, me and Grace, we actually dated only for when we started dating. We actually said we were like engaged already.
Huh?
Yeah.
Mm.
So we knew each other before,
Oh.
like, but anyways, like basically, officially, we only dated for like 6 months before we got married. Like looking back, I don't think that was the smartest thing to do, but it worked out. But it's basically saying that you got to know a person well enough before you commit because you don't know how that person is going to react. What do you guys think about that? Do you agree that in the end, like you know whether this person is right or even you're ready to marry this person when you go through something hard and you're still willing to say, oh, rather than running away, be like, hey, I want to work on this really. I want to work on it. Like I want to make sure, rather than your first thought is, oh, like time to find another guy or another girl, or oh, I just want to be single. Yeah. Do you think that's a pretty good indicator? What do you guys think?
If it's somebody you plan on staying with, yeah. But I mean, if you're just kind of just dating around and you're like, oh, things are getting rough, I don't like this anymore.
Right.
Then you're like, I'm
All
out.
right, exactly. So that shows you your mindset then,
Yeah.
right? That shows you, oh, I'm not ready for marriage, and that's okay if you're not ready for marriage, right?
But doesn't that
Huh.
also like come into play? Because some people are like, oh yes, like you have to see if like you don't like this part of this person, but he'll change, and then you're like waiting for that change. But then
Mm.
that means you're expecting that person to change something that you don't like or you don't
Mm.
agree with, right?
Mm.
But then how does that like work with the statement like you cannot like change the person
Mm.
or and then that's why people like often like divorce
Yeah.
because they were like
Yeah.
putting up with that like presumption or like oh he'll change
Yeah.
but they never do.
Mm.
So I feel like if you're actually able to like see that that person cannot change that
Mm.
particular thing and you literally cannot put up with it or
Mm.
doesn't you know
Yeah.
then it's better to
Just leave. Yeah.
but then at the same time like what if it's only one more like one little thing
Mm.
like can you just put up with it
Yeah.
but it's like I don't know
I think it depends on that one thing, right?
right
Yeah. I think if it's a fundamental thing, like the running thing, like maybe they're not Christian, right? But they say like I'm kind of open to it. Like do you wanna like gamble on that?
so what if it's not a fundamental thing but it's just
Yeah.
about how immature you are
I mean, it could be, right? People can change for the good or for the worst, right? So because people are always changing. Like even think about like all of us. Like 10 years ago, are you the same 10 years ago than you were today?
Oh, I hope not.
No, right? I mean, something's good, something's bad, right?
Yeah, that's
Like
right.
some of your habits have been better, or some of your character has gotten better. But same thing, right? 10 years later, like all of us are going to be a little bit different. So I think there's always going to be certain things, but I think the important thing is the foundational. Yeah. Like if it's really like fundamental, the two things that we talked about in the dating process, I think those things are important. But yeah, we're not saying like find the perfect person, but it's like your first instinct when something hard comes is it, yeah, I want to let's work on it, or am I like, all right, peace out. That's more of what's saying. And if your attitude it's like, I'm out, then again, maybe it's not a good match, or maybe you're not ready. Yeah. Genesis, any thoughts?
It's funny because I probably still am this way, but like sometimes when I first like somebody, I don't see anything until I see it,
Mm.
you know. But then when I see that one thing that I don't like, then I start thinking about everything else that I don't like,
Mm.
and then it's like I can't unsee it
Yeah.
anymore,
Yeah.
you know. And there's only been probably like a few times where I got past it, and I
Mm.
mean those are probably my longest relationships that I had. It's only been two.
Which makes sense, right?
Yeah, which
Yeah.
makes more sense.
Yeah.
But it's so like it took so much for me to like
Look past those things.
look past those things.
Mm.
I mean, knowing that they were still there, but like for me, it takes so much, and they weren't even such big deals. You know, it wasn't that big. But like looking back, and it's been a while since those relationships anyway. So it's kind of like I hope you know that it's not as hard to look past those things because it does take me a while.
Mm.
I mean, to the point where like I do remember thinking, I was like, ugh, why did I even, you know,
Start this relationship. Sure.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
why? But then I guess I would kind of rationalize it in my head. I'd be like, no, just go one more day.
Yeah, just one more day.
One more day, one more day, and so on, until it kind of, I guess, just goes away. But it takes a while. So it's kind of I think one of those things that when I think about it, I'm like, yeah, how am I gonna know, you know, that I'm gonna get to that point? Like, will I get to that point?
Mm.
Because it's just one of see it, and it's so hard to get past.
Yeah.
But
Very nice. Let's go to our second C, communication. A growing skill of communication. You must develop the ability to communicate. Can you navigate relational conflict? Okay. Can you and this is what Genesis was actually sharing, right? Being able to resolve conflicts together. Yeah. Can you disagree in a way that promotes unity rather than division? When you disagree, do your words become weapons? Or even when your feelings are hurt, are you able to speak words to each other that are wise and bring healing and health to the relationship? So you need the skill of communication for marriage to work. Okay? So again, the concept is, do you see when you're dating, okay, when there's conflicts happening, okay, are you able to problem solve? Okay? Or is it just yelling? Or just fighting? Okay. Let's keep going.
Issues will come up that cause disagreement. Can you work through those in a healthy way, or does one of you dominate the conversation and the other one hide your feelings? Are either of you refusing to share what you really think, or do you both explode and attack?
Yeah.
Here's an advice. When you disagree with someone, you need to focus on their actions and your feelings. Do not try to guess the other person's motives. Statements like, "You're trying to make me look dumb," it's not constructive. When you are hurt, try to first focus on their actions. Do you remember when you made that joke? Then focus on your emotions. That made me feel real stupid and embarrassed.
Okay. Do you understand the difference? So a lot of times, most of the times, when somebody hurts us or when they disagree, instead of looking at what I'm seeing, I always attack the intent of that person. For example, when somebody comes late, we always make a caricature of that person. We go, oh, that person is a lazy person. That person is always late. Right? So we make assumptions on, right? But when we're late, we're not a lazy person or a stupid person or a late person. We have a reason. We have an excuse. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
But that person could have an excuse coming late. But we already make an assumption about that person. So same thing. When somebody hurts us, then we already say that person is an enemy. Does that make sense? So we already make assumptions about the intent of that person. That person must not like me. That person is trying to attack me, trying to push me down. So we already see their intentions as a bad thing. However, they might have good intention. They just might not know that they're hurting me. So what I need to do is, instead of making assumptions, I focus on their action. Because action is what I see. And then I focus on my feelings because that's what I feel. Does that make sense? So instead of saying, okay, you're trying to make me dumb, that's an intention. You're trying to intentionally, right, make fun of me and make me like push me down. But that's like accusing people, right? So instead of that, you go, oh, when you made fun of me, because that's an action that I see. When you made fun of me, I felt stupid. So I'm not accusing you. I'm just telling you the fact from my vantage point of view. So if I said to Luis again, you're trying to make me look dumb, that's accusing. But if I said, oh, when you made fun of me, I felt stupid. Those two statements, totally different. This will cause more fight and be like, no, I didn't try to make fun of you. Yeah, you did. And then I have to back up that statement. Yeah, you did. No, I didn't. Yeah, you did. You're stupid. You're stupid. You always did this. You always did that. And then it just gets worse. But instead, I'm just saying, this is what you did. This is what I saw. And then this is how I felt. Does that make sense? These are on facts, not on assumptions. Let's keep going.
If you can learn to communicate well with each other, you will navigate
Sorry?
through a lot of issues quickly. But if every disagreement dissolves into arguments and yelling, you need to pump the brakes before you jump into till death do us part. Make sure you pick up the skill of communication.
Yeah. So again, we're not saying you have to be perfect in these things, obviously, but it's like, again, are you seeing, when you're in that dating phase, before you say, oh, do I want to marry this girl? Are we able to problem solve? Well, what do you guys think about this one? Agreed?
Yeah.
I had a couple. I think I only had one or two couples that I did premarital counseling, and I told them like, yeah, you guys shouldn't get married. And this was one of the reasons. Like every time there was like a problem or an issue, it just gets worse and worse and worse. Like they're not, even though I'm there. It's just like, you know what I mean? Like when somebody's normally there, someone else is there, it usually like stays a little leveled. But no, it just like gets worse and worse and worse.
That was with friends too. We had two friends in college.
Yeah.
She was my roommate actually, and they started dating, and they were dating they were together for 5 years, I think.
Wow.
Before they broke up.
Yeah.
And I mean, we all thought, these two are gonna get married, but I don't think that most of us thought it was a good idea that they were together anyway. Yeah. Because every time they had a disagreement or something, and it didn't matter who was around. It started escalating with people around and escalating until they had to go somewhere else because it kept escalating. Right. It was so much, but we just thought of them. Well, you know what? If that works for them, I guess it works for them.
No, it doesn't work for.
They talk back and forth until like it gets to a level where, of course, it comes down.
Right.
Because they solve their problem.
Sure.
But it was constant.
Yeah.
Back and forth all the time because neither of them would let go of their positions. Very strong personalities, and we just thought, if it works for them, it works for them. It's their personalities, I guess, But in the end, it didn't work out.
Yeah. I think this is huge. Yeah, this is really big. All right, let's go to another one, which is really interesting. Confession. Moment of confession. I believe there comes a moment before two people get engaged when they will need to look at each other and say, before we link our lives together forever, I need you to know some things about me. Not just the things you see, but I need you to know some of the broken things in me and in my past. So that's why it's called confession, okay? So let me warn you, this will be a hard conversation. For some, this will involve diverging sins that were committed against you, or that maybe you have committed against somebody else. You may need to talk about past abuse you have suffered or how it might impact the way you approach conflict, money, or sex. Okay? Again, this is not saying on the first date, you're like, well, let me tell you about, okay? Or like the 10th date. It's saying when you feel like you are, again, thinking about, I want to actually be with this person. Then it's saying you want to communicate, okay, certain things that you have. Okay, let's see why.
What Alcoholics Anonymous says is true. We are only as sick as our secrets. Concealing our sins from the one closest to us isn't a healthy way to start a marriage. You want to be able to have the freedom in your home to know that all the doors of your life are open. You don't need to share every single detail, but you do tell them about what has happened to you and the things you've done.
Does that make sense? Right, because if you have like some closed doors and some skeleton in your closet, then again, you're always gonna you're never gonna be open in that relationship. There's always like part of you that you're hiding, and you go, if that person knows this about me, like they might leave me. You know what I mean? But the opposite, okay, and maybe they might leave after you tell them, right? But what if you told them, but at least now that when you guys are married, you were like, I don't have any more secrets. Like this person is not going to be, you don't have back of your mind, if I tell them this one, like they might leave me. So instead you have freedom. You have peace. You go, this person has heard the broken parts of me and yet is still willing to commit with me. That's a lot of freedom. Let's keep going.
Why do this? person that you trust them, even with the most broken parts of you. Second, it holds the potential to be powerfully healing. When you share the most wounded and broken parts of you and they respond with empathy and mercy, it can be a powerfully healing moment. Confessing and repenting opens the doors for restoration. Lastly, honest conversations can greatly increase conding.
Oh, sorry, it's bonding. My bad. Bonding. bonding.
Can increase bonding. It will greatly increase your confidence that the relationship has what it takes to survive any storm. Trust deepens.
Yeah. Okay. So first one is if you're able to do that. If you're not able to do that, that means that tells you, oh, this person is not someone I can trust. So that tells you about you, or that tells you about that person, or maybe both. But again, why do you want to be with somebody that you can't even share your secrets with? And the second part is there's a lot of healing that happens. Right? Because if you go and tell your deepest secret and yet they are still willing to commit to you, then what happens? There's healing. And the third part is, again, it builds conding. Okay? So bonding. Okay? Conding. Okay? Trust deepens. So you have this confidence. You're like, okay, if she's able to or he's able to hear this and still like not leave me, then again he or she knows like some of the baggage I have, and then it helps her or him to understand, hey, this is where we're going, and these are some of the healing process that needs to happen. Okay, what do you guys think about this one?
Yeah, it's a heavy subject.
This one's good.
Yeah.
This one's a hard one, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, very vulnerable things. But again, in marriage, you want to be able to be with somebody that you could be vulnerable with, right? Like you want to have a partner that you can share life with, literally, right? Or I mean, none of us want to be with a spouse who's hiding stuff from us, right? Like even their hurts, you want to know about good stuff, but you also want to hear about their bad stuff, so you can, like, you're there for them, right? That's real love, right? Yeah. What do you think?
I like the part that says you don't need to share every single detail.
Yeah. I think that is very important.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you need to be wise, and then you could even ask maybe a friend of yours, like get some advice, right? To see, okay, how much should I share? Right. Okay. Yeah. So, and I think sometimes, like the spouse or your girlfriend, boyfriend could ask for more details, but I think sometimes you need to be wise. Okay. Just because you share some details are not necessarily better for them. But at least I think you should tell them the gist of what happened. Yeah. So that they kind of understand where you're coming from. I think that is important. Yeah. All right. The last C, community. Go ahead, Genesis.
Support of your community. Proverbs 11:14 says, "Where there is no guidance, a people falls. But in abundance of counselors, there is safety." This means that you need guidance from your community. You need to seek out a few healthy married couples and good friends who love you enough to be straight with you. Tell them that you want them around and that you want them to know everything to evaluate along with you. If they see problem areas or a lack of help, they could call them out.
Okay. Does that make sense? So you have friends or church, some kind of community where they could be on that evaluation process with you. But a lot of times what happens is dating, like, again, like it's easy to like go isolation mode and then not tell your friends about it. Because you might think, oh, if I told my friends about it, they might think that she or he's not good for me. But that's already a warning flag. If you're not even willing to tell your friends about it, then that means you're already justifying in your mind that it's not good. But a lot of time, what do we go? We're like, but I love this girl or guy, so we can do it. I don't care what my mama says. I don't care what my friends and my sister says.
Okay, let
Right?
me give you something.
Okay.
So, usually what happens with me, I never tell anybody that when I start dating somebody.
Yeah.
Like, I never do it. Just that's never been me.
Yeah.
I never tell anybody. until like I guess until I feel comfortable enough. So is that not okay?
I think that's okay.
Okay.
So I think as long as people are, I think if you're like going all of that and then you're ready for that engagement period and you still haven't told anybody, I think that's a problem. I just think, or I think before you get engaged, you should be able to, like friends around you, your parents and stuff, they should get to know that person
Yeah.
so that they can evaluate well enough and they could say, oh yeah, I think this person is good for you or not. Right. Yeah. Genesis or Belen or any other thoughts?
Just kind of going on. You were saying that it's easy for people to go the one way,
Right.
and not have a community to
Right.
like help develop the relationship. And so like I don't know, it feels kind of like useful information.
Yeah. And obviously this isn't saying, right, like don't be isolated. Right? Spend some time if you guys want to on your own, but make sure that you don't like you it's just not always you two.
Yeah.
Like have them meet your friends and see how she interacts. Or you go meet their friends and see how they interact. Go hang out with their parents. Again, when it gets more serious, right? Not on the first date or things like that. But I get again like seeing them in their more like normal state and being other people being able to see from a third person's perspective, because you guys have all met couples, you're like, oh man, that guy or that like your friend's boyfriend or girlfriend, like it's not good, but they don't see it. Yeah, but you see it. It's like so apparent. Like this girl or this guy is no bueno.
But they'll change, right?
But they'll change.
They'll change.
But I
You don't know
love
You don't
them.
know them like I do.
But I love them. Yeah, exactly. You don't know them like I do. Right, things like that. Okay, so again, community is very, very important. Let's keep going. What is it that will give you increased confidence that you are ready for a transition from dating to engagement? The voices of the wise around you can agree with you that this relationship is a good thing. When the chorus of the wise sound their approval, you can cross that threshold into marriage with confidence.
What if that only happens from one party?
Give me so for example.
Like, let's say guy's family agrees, but maybe the girl's family doesn't.
Doesn't it? Yeah. So I think it depends, right? Because like they might like the guy, but they might, or a girl, but they might not necessarily like other things about the guy or girl, right? But I do think it's important to fully try to understand your parents' point of view, because I think your parents know you very well and know life more than you, at least. They might be wrong, but that doesn't mean that, like, a lot of the times, like, they say no because they want the best for us. You know what I mean? Like, none of them are thinking, like, oh, I want Belen to suffer, so that's why I'm going to say no. Something, you know what I mean? Like, most of the time, they say no, Kirin, or no, Luis, because, yeah. Like, for example, I'll give you an example. Like, one of my close friend, like, she got, she has a lot of degree. So she makes certain amount of money. But in the Korean world, it's like, and this might be for you guys too, but it's like she makes more money than the guy. So for the parents, they're like, nah. Right? So again, like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? That's something you have to evaluate. Right? Is it more because of pride that the parents are doing it? Or is it really because of like, they feel like the man needs to take care of the woman? Or maybe they think, maybe another concept could be like, oh, maybe they believe like she's going to get married or she's going to have children and she can't work. And it's like, can his salary like provide for the whole family? Maybe those are the things that the parents are thinking. So they could be good things, or it could be a negative thing. Sometimes parents can make mistakes too, right? Or they might be like projecting their desires onto the children. So that's also a possibility, right? So I think these are all, but I think it is important to at least listen to your counsel and to see like, what's the reason? Like, tell me why. Tell me what you see. Yeah. But I think maybe if like one side of the parents see it and then like your friends also tell, then it becomes like, if there's like multiple like people telling you, then again, yeah, sus. Yeah, they're among them.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
love,
yeah.
and the other side is like,
No, no, no,
no,
no. Yeah.
then it's just a no altogether.
Yeah, I think that there's a probably a big flag then, red flag.
Hmm.
Yeah. If the whole side on the other side is all like, yeah, like no. And I think that person should really reconsider what's going on. Okay, let's keep going. Belen?
The step from singleness to engagement is massive. Many people today delay engagement because of the fear that they could be missing something or messing up something. Engagement is a leap of faith, trusting that you have found the right person to love until death do you apart. And yet, it needs to be a blind leap. But if you have these waypoints to navigate by commitment, communication, confession, and community, you enter this exciting relational phase with confidence.
Ooh, if you have the four C's, you could have confidence. All C's. Huh? What do you guys think? Which of these four do you think, looking back maybe on your relationships, like you feel like, oh, this was part, like maybe I was missing. And I realize, oh, I need more of this in my next relationship going forward.
The communication one.
Communication.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why for you?
Because I've kind of learned to like make sure that conversations go like a ping pong match and try to stay even. Whether instead of the other person just trying to dictate everything all the time. So it's something that I will look into and I'm like, okay, this sounds like a little too dictatorish and like my input is really not being, taken into consideration or like it's asked but it means absolutely nothing.
I see. I
Then
see.
I'm like, no, I don't want this.
Okay. Okay, so you understand that it has to go back and forth, back and
It
forth.
has to go back and forth.
Right.
Like there has to be an equal amount. Like sure, there's like even if it's a decision I have to make,
Mm,
and the person's already making the decision for me.
yeah,
It's like,
makes
so.
sense. Yeah. How about for you, Belen? Any of these?
Honestly, I don't consider that one a relationship. But if it has to be, I feel I need to listen to my community.
Community.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because I told her everything, and despite her telling me like, why?
Her meaning Noah?
No, yeah.
Okay, okay.
I was like, don't. I'm like, nah.
Oh, I see. I see. So in your past, you told stuff to Noah, and Noah's like, "Oh, red flags,"
Yeah.
but you're like, "No, I'm good. We can do it. We love each other." Yeah. So community.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. How about for you? Which one of these four?
I don't know. I mean, with all my relationships, I don't think that I ever like thought about it this far
Yeah.
to this point.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe with one.
Yeah. But how about this? Don't look back. How about looking forward? Which four of these do you think like you need to work on? Or it's gonna be the hardest for you?
Confession.
Confession.
I feel like.
Yeah, you got a lot of skeletons over there. A valley of bones over there.
Nah. No, but yeah, no.
Just like trusting someone to be like.
Yeah, I don't
Is that
know,
what it
it's
is?
just always because I mean, it's not like I keep him because like to the point where it makes me feel bad. Just there's just things that I don't like feel the need to share, with other people, and it's never like affected me till I was like, oh, like my hurt, my pain. I can't tell anybody. Boo.
Sure.
Like, no, it's just things that I've dealt with before, and
Yeah.
it's over. So
Yeah.
I don't feel the need to share.
Yeah.
So it's just like, having to. I mean, I understand the concept of it and why it's beneficial. I think that's the one part where it's gonna be like really hard to get to that point. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
It might be like pulling teeth out
Sure,
of me kind
sure.
of situation.
Yeah. It's unnatural for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so weird. Even like, community, I think I have that down. Especially with my parents, they've always been on the money with every relationship I've ever had, including friendships. It's kind of scary to that point.
Yeah.
But because of that, I mean, their opinion to me, like it matters, not just everybody, but their advice. Because I've seen it, know how right they are for
Yeah.
like just about everything.
No, for sure.
But maybe the second will be communication.
Mm,
Yeah.
nice.
I had the opposite of yours.
Mm.
My parents were wrong.
No, sometimes they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, becoming one. This will be our last slide. Genesis.
When you
When you dice.
When you dice.
Dice.
there's no
Gambling.
this. When you decide to marry someone, your lives merge. All of your lives. Engagement is a union. Your finances, your futures, and your families become one. And though your engagement might not begin with a ride in a
Hearse.
like mine, make no mistake, every wedding is also a funeral. Your single life is passing away, and a new united life is emerging. The fun parts and the not as much fun parts. Therefore, we need to talk about navigating this focused season of engagement when the two disappear and your lives begin the process of becoming one. Here are some of those things.
Yeah, so Belen talked about this, right? It's not about I and I, but it's about us. It's two coming together. So you have to talk about what are we going to do about us? Okay, so those are things you have to talk about before you become us. Okay, so that you're ready. Okay, like the example I think I always give it. I don't know if I gave it to you guys before, but it's like you need to learn how to pull the parachute, like how to do the parachute before you get on the plane and jump off the plane. Right? If you're practicing while you're
On the ground.
while you're in the air,
You can die.
not a good idea, right? So same thing. You want to make sure that you talked about everything before you're already together. Okay? So there's 3 things. We're going to go really quickly. There's more than 3 things, but family. If you're going to join your life together with somebody else, you will also be joining your families together. Okay? How will your families be involved in your marriage? Like your in-laws. Right? Some, like, for example, it's like some kids, they're mama's boys and mama girls. Daddy's girls or something like that, right? So like they never had to make choices. Their mom or dad made choices for them. But what if they get married together? What's going to happen? Okay, things like that. Whose in-laws will you go over for Christmas? You'll be amazed how many people fight over this. Okay? Cool. What if they're both Hispanic? Or what if like your parents get really upset because you went to the party one? Right, again, these are all things, again, because it's not I anymore, it's us. Again, these are good things to talk about. Okay, well, the family dynamic. What do they expect? Okay, these are all good questions to talk about before going in. Next.
Finances. How do you handle money? Do you have a personal budget? Will you bring your bank account together? How much will you give? Work now on stewarding your resources well, and you will greatly reduce stress and greatly increase satisfaction in your early years of marriage.
Yeah. Okay, people don't talk about this. And they're like, yeah, once you get married, everything, again, it's like expectations, assumptions. And you go in and they're like, no, I don't want to do it this way. I want to do it this way.
Finance is such a big thing.
It
It's
is.
hard to believe that people wouldn't talk about it.
Yeah, but you'll be amazed.
It's one of the biggest.
You'll be
things.
amazed.
For real.
Every time I do premarital counseling. Yeah. Like some people have like they don't only talk about their debt. Because again, that's like stuff that they're scared about or like they're ashamed about, or they feel guilty about. So they don't talk about it. Okay? Again, I'm going to tell you guys at the end, but if you could get premarital counseling, do it as much as you can. Because again, good premarital counselor will have you guys talk about these things. That's the whole point of premarital counseling is, okay, you guys are going to bring your life together, so let's talk about your future. Let's talk about all these different things. Next.
Future. What are your expectations? Who will take on responsibilities around the house? What traditions do we bring it in? What traditions do we want to create? How many kids do we want to have? How much do we want to get involved in church community? How do we want to do vacations?
Okay, again, these are all things.
Every year.
If you don't talk about it, then again, you bring in your expectations, your assumptions, and then what happens when they clash? You fight about it. Okay? So again, I'm going to tell you one more time. if you are at this stage where you want to get engaged, great. Just make sure to, as long as possible, get premarital counseling as much as you can. So that, or if you don't, then
Before
that's
getting engaged or after getting engaged?
well, probably after you get engaged. Yeah, but you could talk about these things, right? Before, even before. But especially in your, this is more about like in your engagement period. Whereas the 4 things where, how do you know whether you're ready to get engaged? This is what you need to do during your engagement. Not just do the wedding planning. Of course, that's important, but like you guys said, it's only one day. Okay? We need to talk about how we're going to bring this together. Okay. So, engaged is going to be union. 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 All right. Luis, if you could share, if you could read this for
The
us.
brief season of engagement exists to allow a young couple to focus on on the complexities of bringing their 2 lives together as one. It is not simply a time to work on the wedding, but rather time to work on marriage. Engagement, in its essence, is about union.
Yeah. Not about one event, but how do we bring our lives together? Yeah. I think I told you guys already, right? There was a couple, I was doing premarital counseling, and while they're doing it, they're like, nah. And so they separated. Did I tell you guys about that one? Yeah. So again, that's a perfect example. They were not ready, and they never talked about it. They were just like, "Oh yeah, everything will be fine." Once, and then they started to realize, "Oh, this was your expectation. Oh, these were, oh, you have this much thing, yeah." And then they're like, "Oh, it's not. I'm not ready." So again, it sucks, but much better.
They get ready after?
No, they're both. I don't know about the girl. I know I'm more friends with the guy, and then yeah, he's still like single. But that's better. That's better. That's better than them. Again, that's better than them getting married. And he's still young. Like he's still young, so it's fine. But it's like it's better than them getting married and getting divorced.